Today we're digging down deep into the Blade Torrent 110. This will be a long but extensive review covering everything you will need to know before deciding this is the right quadcopter for you. Corey here with Crash and Burn Racing, and welcome back to another video. First thing I want to say about the packaging of this is that I absolutely do love Horizon's packaging because they work great for transporting your quad. So that I really do like. But enough about the packaging, let's get this open and take everything out. So let's start off with the first impression of this. The build quality seems quite nice, which is exactly what I would expect from a Blade product. The prop guards on here, these are very squishy. Now, they describe on their website that these are to protect your motors and your props. However, in real life application, these are completely worthless to protect your props. All you're going to do when you hit something is push this in, break your prop, and then you're pretty much done with your prop. So, and it doesn't come with any extra props, I've noticed, just this back here. And so I've got to give them a pretty poor grade on the prop protection with these. You might as well just take these off. The only thing these are going to end up doing is maybe protect yourself if you get hit, or anything else that you're hitting into, but not the quad itself. Do you like the antennas coming out here? This is nice, having an actual angle adjustment for your camera. Got an actual carbon fiber bottom frame, that's always nice. Now I can tell that these wires are soldered right here. There's nothing else holding them on, so I have to be a little bit careful pulling these wires off that flight control, or excuse me, the ESC there. Canopy is nice. Feels pretty stiff for what it is. And for the stuff that it came with, let's check this out real quick. So it comes with some zip ties, which is nice. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe it's for the wires if you take it apart. They give you a little Allen wrench and some Velcro, or excuse me, this is some more sticky pad stuff. Here's the Velcro right here. So this is nice, so that you can stick the pad on the bottom here to stick on your battery. We got some extra bolts here, or excuse me, screws. That looks like these are for the motors and not the props, or maybe they work for both. We'll find out here in a little bit. And we have some soft motor mounts. I do really like this addition here, because sometimes you just cannot get rid of those vibration problems. So, but yeah, good impression overall so far, with the exception of the prop guards. So let's start taking an in-depth look and take this apart. To start off this disassembly, we're going to have to remove this screw down in here and screw down in here, and this will allow us to remove the canopy. So let's get that done. I now have these two screws loosened up, so let's pull off this canopy and see what it looks like. Alright, so the canopy is loose. We have looks like a little connector here to pull off, and a little connector on the video transmitter down in there, right there. So we'll get those unhooked and get this off completely. Canopy is fully off. Now we can look at how this is assembled. Did notice that to get full angle on this camera, it was bumping in this transmitter a bit, so you kind of have to force it over a bit. But as you can see, I do have the plug-and-play version because I do fly DSMX. So this is actually a really nice addition for the $200 plug-and-play, or excuse me, bind and fly. This is a $50 receiver, so I find that kind of crazy that there's a $50 receiver in a $200 quad. But so we got some plastic brackets here that hold on this receiver, and of course all this is plastic that holds on the camera, and the camera itself is actually looks pretty stout for what it is. Got some nice support all the way around it. Got our antennas running up through these holes here. So far it looks like the planning behind it was fairly well done. Let's get this top layer off and get an even deeper look. To get this top layer off, we're having to remove the 4 screws on the bottom, and it looks like it only threads into this part, so this may be fun to get back together, but gotta have a good review, right? Show you what's in here. So we got these off. Now it looks like it's all just gonna pretty much fall apart. Alright, so here we've got our power coming up off of here to go to our this goes to the video transmitter right here. So that routes through the side here, and then we have our receiver plugged into the back of here. It looks like, yep, back here. And there is our flight controller. Now I think this is 25 by 25. Let me double check that real quick, find my calipers. So it does look like it is a 25 by 25 flight controller, which means that our ESC will also be 25 millimeters from mounting hole. I find that very odd. I don't like it. We're all able to get 20 by 20 millimeter stuff now, which is a little bit smaller, which would allow them to bring everything in a little bit more. So very odd choice by Horizon to do that. Not a big fan, but we'll see how it flies later on. I'm sure it'll fly fine, but I just don't like the size. But here we've got our 4-in-1 ESC. That's how it is wired in there. And we've got our cable coming up here to control our ESC. And here's our power soldered on right there. Like I said, it's not tethered anywhere else other than to this ESC. And here's our little spacers that seem to keep everything together. So, but yeah, there it is. Got our little Spectrum label here. And that is how this thing is assembled. So now I'm going to have the fun of putting this all back together, and we'll let you know how much of a pain in the butt that is to do. Before I start assembly, I want to give you guys a look at this flight controller because I found a couple things I actually like about it. Here we have a boot button, which is always nice to help reprogram these guys so you're not trying to solder some pads together. And we actually have a bind button on here, so that's super nice. That means if you're a DSMX guy, you can just hit this bind plug and not have to open up Betaflight, which, you know, I mean, there's new people out there. So far this looks like if you're new to the quadcopter world, this might be a very good choice for you. Alright, so I finally got the main portion of this all put back together. And let me tell you what, that was not the best experience I've ever had assembling something. Said a few words during the process. And these little gray spacers here are super easy to lose. I lost one, spent about 30 minutes looking for it. And they don't include extra ones in the package, which, Horizon Hobby, come on. Let's put some extra one of these in your packaging, or if anything, change the colors of the damn things. I mean, if you're working in your garage like I would imagine most people are, and these are gray and they fall on the floor, which is gray, concrete, yeah, that was terrible. But anyway, after about 30 minutes of searching for that, in about 5 minutes I got this all put back together. And I actually noticed that the screws in this stack are 2.5 or M2.5. and which is another odd size, along with the 25 millimeter spacing of the flight controller and the ESC. So either their engineers are just a little on the crazy side, or they're just trying to make this unique as possible so that you have to buy their parts, which I understand it's a business, but $60 for this ESC, that's absolutely ridiculous. Come on, Horizon, get realistic here. But anyway, oh yeah, and another information about the ESCs, when you look at this little thing here, it's actually a 4x6 amp, just like the Baby Hawk, except for all in one. So I found that very interesting because I actually run the Baby Hawk on 3-cell as opposed to 2, and haven't had any issues with it. So this is 6 amp also running on 3-cell, so very interesting. The canopy here, here's our video transmitter, mounted in there fairly nicely. 4 screws holding it on, and the antenna here sticks right on here pretty snug. This is actually very durable. I'm actually kind of surprised by this design. I actually really like that. But another thing before we get fully assembled here, the prop guards are sandwiched in between the motor and the carbon fiber frame, so nothing really special there, but that's how they're put on. And of course they're supposed to come out with different colors of these, but I find it most likely that most people just take these off because of how useless they are to protect your props. But anyway, enough rambling about this. Let's get this fully assembled. Alright, so we need to get a weight of this guy to see what we're coming in at. And we're looking at 84 grams, which not bad. Could be a little bit better. Of course, there's a lot of stuff going on here, so I believe the Baby Hawk comes in around 64. Don't quote me on that exactly, I just know it's right around there. So I'm going to go over the computer now and see how this thing is set up. Alright, so I went ahead and made a model on my controller here called Torrent. And I've already hooked it up to my computer and checked out the ranges, and I'm going to go over with them with you real quick, so that if you're just trying to get it bind up real quick without having to go on a beta flight, this is exactly what you'll need to change on your DX6 here. So got my my model in here for Torrent. I've already bound it. Just hit the bind plug and then turn this with bind mode. Super easy. And we're going to now go into control setup, and here are my throws that I had to change. So my throttle was 47-49. Here's my roll, my pitch, my yaw. You could probably just make every one of these 48 and it'll be perfectly close enough, but those you will absolutely have to change in order to get your quadcopter to actually bind. And then in order to have your controls correctly set up, you'll have to reverse your roll and your yaw to have proper control. Alright, so we've got our Torrent plugged into the computer here, and we're gonna connect and see what we've got. Ports, we won't have to mess with that, so we'll go straight to configuration. And first I want to see what minimum throttle set at. It is at 1100. That is a bit high for me, so we're gonna put in 1080 just to see how that does. And go down here, VBAT, we'll leave that on. Go over here real quick. This should all be good. Don't mess with that. Now the 2 and the 1 here for the gyro and the PID loop, that's actually a little on the slower side. So we'll put this on 4 and this on 4, and we're gonna save that here in a little bit. I'll leave telemetry on. Block box I'm not gonna be using, and transponder I'm pretty sure this doesn't have that, so we'll turn that off also, and we'll give that a quick save. And again, this isn't really absolutely necessary to do these modifications. It's just something I want to do to when I go take this out flying tomorrow. So down here you'll see our CPU jumped up to about 33%, so we'll leave this at 4x4. And when I go flying tomorrow, I'll be able to find out how well that works out. Go to the PID. We're going to leave the stock PIDs on here. Now you can change your RC rates and your super rates, and I actually like to keep my super rate at about 0.88 on here, and I will bring down this to about 0.75, and that is usually what I like to run right around in there. So we're going to save this. And next we're going to take a look at the receiver, and here this is where you'll be able to check to see where all your throws are. You need to make sure it does go up to 2000 and down to 1000 for all 4 of your channels. As you can see here, mine works just fine, so we're good there, and this should be all correct again. Don't need any RC deadband because we don't have too much fluctuation here, so that will be fine. So going into modes, I did switch my auxiliary 2 to channel H and my auxiliary 1 to channel A, or switch A I should say, on my DX6. So that will put my ARM channel up here, and right now, actually it's backwards. Let me get this on 1 here. And this is what I like to have mine on right here, and it's actually backwards, so which is odd. You think they'd have that correct for their own brand. Alright, so I got my arm on my switch, and then these will be on auxiliary 2. Actually, you know what? We don't need air mode, because for air mode, we can turn that on in the configuration part. I forgot to turn that on. And for angle mode, I am going to turn that off. And we are going to add this one here. Turn it to channel 2. And I'm going to put this down right here. And that's exactly how I like to have mine. And we're going to save that. And we're going to go back to configuration real quick because I forgot to turn on air mode here to have always on. So save that. And again, this is just my preference. This isn't absolutely necessary, but we're going to do these for my flight time tomorrow. And we're going to disconnect. And we're going to go real quick into BL Heli Suite. And I'm going to get my battery plugged in here real fast. Alright, got my battery plugged in, and we're on COM 7 already, so we're going to hit connect. Click read setup. Good here. And the reason I wanted to bring this up is because I wanted to bring up beacon delay and beacon strength. Now, just for the purpose of making this, I'd actually already turned this to 10 because it would start beeping after 2 minutes as the default. So we're going to turn this back down to 2 minutes. And for beacon strength, we actually want this to be turned up to 255 because this is what will replace your beeper if you lose it. If it gets no input commands, it will start beeping after 2 minutes, which is almost as good as a beeper. So we will write that setup, and it will send it to all 4. We can click OK, and that's it. That's all the setup I'm going to do, and now it's pretty much ready to fly. But before we go flying, I want to point out real quick that the ESC name does say Skywalker 20 amp. So despite what the tag says, it looks like this is a 20 amp ESC. So let's go check out some 2-cell flight footage. Here I have a 900 milliamp hour 2-cell, and the performance is very underwhelming. It lacked power to come out of turns, and this battery weighed about the same as my 454 cell did. So maybe a little bit lighter one would have helped, but I just don't see 2-cell working out too well. Here I have my 3-cell on, and one of the problems is that when you give it a punch like I did right here, it tends to twitch to the right or left. And this only occurs when you hit it really hard. So I don't know exactly what that problem is, but I will have a follow-up once I do figure that out. But besides that problem, once I kind of slowed down a little bit and took it easy and smoothed out my flying, the performance actually wasn't too bad. I was able to get through the gates fairly reasonable. This was a pretty windy day, so it did give me a little bit of a challenge, but if I did push it too hard, it would have a tendency to dip in the turn. But it was kind of manageable, but for $200, this definitely shouldn't be a problem. And this issue actually only occurs on 3S. I don't think it has enough power on 2S to even notice this issue. So if you're looking for performance, this definitely will be a problem that is going to come up. So I did get a lot of questions comparing this quad to the Baby Hawk. So let's go ahead and take a look at a comparison chart I made up real quick. So here's a quick comparison chart I made up of the Baby Hawk and the Torrent. Cost goes to the Baby Hawk. It's $99 for the plug and play, and the Torrent will be $180. Baby Hawk is a little bit smaller at 85 compared to the 110 millimeters. Weight favors the Baby Hawk, and the motors are quite similar, with only just a bigger tick in the KV for the Torrent there. And then the flight controller, the Femto, is just stuck on, while the flight controller for the Torrent is bolted on. And I really like that, but it's the 25 by 25 millimeter spacing, which is a very odd size, and I feel like that was completely unnecessary and adds more weight. ESCs for the Baby Hawk are single 6 amp ESCs, while you have a 4-in-1 20 amp ESC, as we saw in the BL Heli Suite there. But they both have the same cell ratings. I know it doesn't say that the Baby Hawk is capable of 3S, but I fly mine all the time on 3S, and it does just fine. Cameras are very similar. I might give an edge to the Torrent on the camera. It does seem to be a little bit nicer, but they still have the same drawbacks on cloudy days and sunny days. And the VTX definitely goes for the Baby Hawk because you have a choice between 225 and 200 milliwatts. As for the Torrent, you're stuck with 150 milliwatt in the US, and of course in Europe you're stuck with 25 milliwatt. Prop sizes, the Baby Hawk's a little bit smaller. And the build quality, Baby Hawk, I give it average. It's nothing special. Now with the build quality of the Torrent, it's much nicer, but it's also $200. And for prop guards, the prop guards on Baby Hawk I found to be far superior to the Torrent's prop guards. They just didn't really do their job. So honestly, in my opinion, I feel like the Baby Hawk was faster, and that could be a lot due to the weight. And I just, honestly, for the money, I have to put it on the Baby Hawk because these little issues that have been holding back this review with me trying to figure them out for the Torrent, you really shouldn't have them for $200. So I find that as a big drawback. So that wraps up this review here. So if you have any questions, please post some comments below. And if you like this video, please consider subscribing. And next time you need some quad parts, go ahead and check out the link below to racedayquads.com. With the store I prefer to buy my parts from, they're based in Florida right now. They have fast shipping, really good prices, so that'd be awesome if you checked them out. I'm Corey with Crashbird Racing, and thank you for watching.